One of my buddies just asked me, totally out of the blue, about NFTs or non-fungible tokens. And he said, well, what are they? And that kind of hit me. This guy's a tech guy, and I figured he knew everything. So what does that mean? There's some other people out there who don't know what NFTs or non-fungible tokens are. Hey there, my name's Kenner French. I'm with vastsolutionsgroup.com, where we do tax, finance, and artificial intelligence to help entrepreneurs better their tax situation or their retirement situation. I'm the guy who runs it. I'm the guy who's responsible. We have a lot of team members who make me look good, but we've been doing this for some time. Now, really, ultimately, I guess what prompted his interest was, the sale of that huge, that 5,000 digital piece auction out of Christie's a while back. I think it made something like $70 million on a bunch of, what ifs, a bunch of tokens. And it was, an artist known as Beeple, created the piece of digital art, made an NFT of, offered it for sale, basically. The bidding started at $100. Can you imagine? $100. And at the end of the rest of the auction transformed it into a huge, huge event. And so I think a lot of people, or more people now, are asking about it now because there's, now he's getting on TV, et cetera. It was hard to miss the news about that one, but some people did. There's also, Twitter's founder transforming the first tweet into an NFT and putting it up for sale, or an NFT of a New York Times column earned $500,000 simply for charity, which is awesome, obviously. My friend's questions were basically an attempt to understand what the underlying value of NFT comes from. I've led a number of talks on NFTs, and I figured, well, I'm going to do a little bit of a podcast on it and see if there's an episode that I think can strike a chord and some people will be more interested in NFTs now sooner than later, because I think later it might be too late to make some money on NFTs. The issue really, perceptions of the buyer is paying for are not easily framed in legal terms, so I think that's why it kind of makes sense. NFT marketplaces sadly do not always really explain kind of what's going on. Let's go over the keys. So cryptography is the technique used to protect privacy of a message by transforming it into a form that can be understood only by the intended recipients. I'll explain a little bit more in depth what that means. Now, everyone else will see it only as an unintelligible sequence of random characters, a bunch of dots, a bunch of squares, or whatever the case is. The message manipulation is enabled by a pair of keys, or public and private keys. You should share your public key with your friend who uses it to transform his message into an unintelligible sequence of random characters. You then use your private key to put it back into its original form. So there's special mathematical properties of these two crypto keys, and they're widely used to protect secrecy and integrity of the whole transaction. Two crypto keys play the role of digital signatures, and they're commonly used in what's called the blockchain, a bunch of computers all linked together to confirm the transaction, and really to enable both authentication and anonymity for one transaction or a set of transactions. Now, blockchain, it's really crucial for creating NFTs. It's going to be crucial down the road, a lot more so with Web 3.0. It uses cryptography to chain blocks together into a growing list of records. The list is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as more transactions occur. Now, each block is locked by a cryptography, or what's called a hash, cryptographic hash, if you really think about it, or a string of characters that really truly uniquely identifies a set of data strings to the previous block. That's why I say it gets longer and longer and longer as time goes on, because more and more transactions occur. So think of it as a chain link fence. The chain link fence gets bigger and bigger and bigger as more transactions occur. The transaction records, basically a chain of blocks are stored in data structure that they call, this is going to sound weird, it's called the Merkle tree. This allows for fast retrieval of past records. Very important that the past records can be retrieved very quickly. To be a party in a blockchain-based transaction, each user needs to take a certain pair of keys, right? A public key and a private key. This design makes it very difficult to alter the transaction data, which is stored in the blockchain in itself. Now, although blockchain was initially devised to support fungible assets like, let's call it Bitcoin, and even other types of cryptocurrencies, it's evolved to enable users to create a special kind of crypto asset. One is that's non-fungible, meaning it's totally unique. A picture as an example. Ethereum blockchain is now the basis for most of the currently offered NFTs because it supports this thing called the ERC, 721 token standard, which enables NFT creators to capture information of relevance to their specific digital artifact, like a picture, and store it as tokens on the blockchain. Now, when you pay for an NFT, what you get is the right to transfer the token to a digital wallet. You've probably heard of digital wallet. This token proves that your copy of a digital file is the original, like owning an original painting, truly original painting, or wet painting sometimes they call it. And just as masterpiece paintings can be copied and distributed as inexpensive posters, anyone can have a digital copy of your NFT. It's just the way it goes. Okay? Now, your private crypto key is proof of ownership of the original because you have something stating that it's the original. So just like an original painting, you have an original piece of on the blockchain. Your content creator's public crypto key serves as a certificate of authenticity for a particular digital artifact. This pair of a creator's public key and the owner's private key is primarily what determines the value of said NFT token. Now, let's go over the very short history of NFTs, because it's short. NFTs came to prominence in 2017 mainly with a game called CryptoKitties, which enables players to buy and, quote, breed limited edition virtual cats. Just go with me on this one, by the way. From there, game developers adopted NFTs in a big way to allow gamers to win in-game items such as digital shields, swords, or other prizes and other game collectibles. Tokenization of game assets, it's a real game changer. Down the road, it's going to be even more so in your life or really in your kids' or grandkids' lives, since it enables transferring of tokens between different games or even to another player via NFT specialized blockchain marketplaces. Now, besides gaming, NFTs are frequently used to sell a wide range of virtual collectibles. Let's just say, as an example, NBA virtual trading cards called Top Shot, music, digital images, video clips, and even virtual real estate in something called Decentraland, which is a virtual online world. NonFungible.com, it's a website that tracks NFT projects and marketplaces, puts the value of the total NFT market right now is about somewhere around 250 million. I'm going to guess it's going to explode much quicker, at a quicker rate than you'd ever expect. Now, the contract behind the token, again, it's ERC-721. It's a standard for creating NFTs, which can be set to let content creators continue to earn a percentage from all subsequent sales. Because right now, if you think about it, if you're a creator, let's say you do a painting, you only get paid once on it. But because of this blockchain and ERC-721, you now can get money, cascading money as there's a transaction that occurs, you still get some money. So it's a little bit of passive income for the creator, the initial creator, let's just say. So the NFT market is likely to grow even further because any piece of digital information that can be, quote, minted into an NFT, it's a highly efficient way of managing and securing digital assets. Now, blockchain's carbon footprint, let's talk about that. For all the excitement, there are also concerns that NFTs are not eco-friendly because they are built on the same blockchain technology used by some energy-hungry cryptocurrencies. For example, each NFT transaction on the, let's just pick on Ethereum, on the Ethereum network consumes the equivalent of a daily energy used by two American households. Think about that. Now, security also for most of today's blockchain networks is based on special computers which are called miners, which are competing to solve totally complex math puzzles. This is a kind of what's called a proof of work principle, which keeps people from gaming the system, because believe me, people will try to game the system, and it provides incentive for building and maintaining it. The integrity of the whole deal, right? The miner who solves the math problem first gets rewarded with a prize. It's paid, in virtual coins. It sounds crazy, but this is the wave of the future, and it could be the near future. You got to get on this. The mining requires a lot of computational power, which drives the electricity as a consuming factor, which, some people do make, complaints about. But then again, same thing with cars. Well, yeah, gas isn't good for the environment, or gas car emissions aren't good for the environment. Well, how do you get from point A to point B? Let's say you want to go to from San Francisco to Miami. Well, yeah, you can walk there. It might be better for the environment, but then again, there is a cost. Ethereum blockchain technology it's evolving. It's moving towards less computationally intensive design, which is very important. There are also emerging blockchain technologies like this thing called Cardano, which was designed from the outset to have a small carbon footprint and has recently launched its fast-growing NFT platform called Cardano Kids. And I should also admit that I'm an investor in Cardano. The speed of transformation of blockchain technology into a newer, more eco-friendly variant, it might well decide the future of the NFT market, at least in the short term. Some artists who feel strongly about global warming trends are opposed to NFTs because of the perceived, again, ecological impact. Now, let's talk about the coming crypto economy. Whether or not the current crypto craze keeps its momentum, at least current momentum state, NFTs have already accelerated a larger trend of digital economic innovation. NFTs have confirmed that the public is feeling increasingly favorable towards a crypto economy, and it's embracing its short-term risks. Now, in return for creating the new business possibilities, everything will be on the blockchain. If you really think about it, smart contracts, it's a term that's it can blow some people's brains, but instead of going to an insurance company, waiting to get transferred, et cetera, to start the contract or start the promise of an insurance policy, it's going to be put on the blockchain. It's going to be quicker. It's going to be cheaper for the end user, client, but also the end user company, if you really think about it. NFTs have already made huge inroads in the luxury and gaming industries. I've already mentioned gaming, right? And have plenty of room to grow beyond the initial applications. We haven't even thought about the applications that are going to be available in 1 year's time, 2 years' time. The art sector will continue to be an important segment of the overall NFT market, and it's likely to grow into maturity, let's just say over the next couple of years. We look at NFTs for Top Shot, the NBA, and man, that thing exploded. It's made some millionaires, seemingly overnight, within, I know for a fact, at least over 2 weeks. A number of people who 10 times their money in 2 weeks' time. I think it's backed up a little bit now, but that's, again, everything with NFTs basically are backed up on the blockchain, which we're all going to be using in some time, some shape, etc. Might as well learn about it now. One way of learning about it is contacting us at vastsolutionsgroup.com. Again, vastsolutionsgroup.com. We can, help you to get oriented, learn how to make some money from NFTs, from blockchain, from crypto, etc., etc. That's one of our consulting divisions. Once again, my name is Kenner French. I run vastsolutionsgroup.com with Michelle Lawson, who's the CEO, and we're glad to be a part of your NFT or crypto or blockchain experience. Anything we can do to help you, it helps an entrepreneur, we're good to go. Once again, thank you very much. Kenner French, I'm out.